Good day, viewers. Welcome to a fresh edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television with me, Manir Ali. Our guest today is a medical doctor who has practiced but has also veered into activism and into administration and many other things. She's none other than Dr. Mairo Mandara, who is currently an advisor to the Borno State Governor, Mr. Zulum. Before that, she's been the head of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Nigeria and been involved in so many projects, one of which is the girl-child concern. And we are going to touch on that and so many other issues related to her experience and her activities. Dr. Mairo, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Alhaj Manir.
I don't know where to start. I know you are concerned about maternal mortality, which is very high in the north. You are concerned also about the issue, the plight of the girl child, many of whom don't get educated and are exploited. You've also been concerned about the general backwardness, should I say, of northern Nigeria vis-a-vis the other parts of the country. So I think it's good to start on the education bit of it. Where exactly is the project that I know you've been involved with? Because you've not just been theorizing, but you've also been helping to get some girls off the ground in one of the NGOs that you've been involved with. Can you give us some of the highlights of what you've been doing?
Thank you very much. The organization I co-founded with late Hajj Abdulkisu Yusuf of blessed memory.
Yeah, the journalist.
Yes, the journalist. It's called Girl Child Concerns. And Girl Child Concerns is an organization that's aimed at ensuring that children have access to education regardless of social and economic condition. And we have special interest in girls. When we started, our starting the organization came from the fact that both of us are from the north of Nigeria and both of us are privileged to have been educated. And we thought that the only thing we can give back is what we have been given by our parents, and that is education. And for us, this was very, very important. And for me in particular, it came from my health background. When I saw that as working in Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, you find most of the health challenges. You have very high maternal mortality. You have children not immunized. You have women coming to labor late. You have young children dying and getting vesicovaginal fistulae and bleeding to death. All of it was connected to the level of education of the mother. So that stemmed my interest in education, to prevent women from dying and from suffering and from children having poor health indicators. And also, importantly, we also saw that the only thing we have that is different is education. We're from the same background with everybody else.
The same cultural milieu. You could have been the girls selling fried groundnut in the streets,
on the street or anything, yeah. Or just sitting in the house having 15 children and doing nothing, or in the village actually spending the whole day going from river to river trying to get water. It could have been any one of us, but for the one opportunity that our parents gave, alhamdulillah, for us to be educated.
But there's still a lot of, should I say, suspicion about Boko, about Western education. I mean, don't go to the extreme of the Boko Haram kind of manifestation, but a lot of parents think that maybe it's wasted effort to educate a girl because after all, she's going to another man's house and she's just going to bear children and all of that.
I am a living example. Hajj Abdulkisu, a really well-respected journalist in this country, is a living example. There's so many. Look at Alaja Latifa Okunu. She was the deputy governor of Lagos State. You have women that have made their mark. I'm specifically calling very specific women, not just all educated women. Women that have been highly, highly educated to the highest level. Hajj Abdulkisu studied as far away as in Russia. But she's a very practicing Muslim woman. She held to her culture. she held to her religion and she held to her values much more than women that were not educated. So actually education for me is an obligation as a Muslim woman that I have been challenged by my religion to study from cradle to grave, to study the whole essence of my being on earth. And the whole essence of all of our being is on earth is to do what our Creator, and it doesn't matter what one's religion is, wants us to do. How can you know what your Creator wants you to do if you cannot read and write? That's number one. You can learn to read. For me, reading and being to school has given me one tool that is probably the most important tool I have. And that is to be able to actually even attempt to read the transliteration of the Quran itself, to read the meaning and translation of the Quran, to have a vague idea of what my Creator created me to do. I couldn't have done that without education at all.
But why is it that here we are sitting in 2024, more than 100 years or 200, nearly 200 years since the Sokoto Jihad itself, where Nana Asma, one of the daughters of the Sheikh Usman Danfodio, was well educated, well respected. She was an educator in her own right. But here we are in this century, at this age, when still there is so much resistance to especially women education. What is it? Is it the water we drink, the air we breathe, or what do you reckon is the problem?
Honestly, in my opinion, and this might sound, and this may offend some people, is bare selfishness. For me, it's utter selfishness. Because if you look at anybody who is against educating a woman, he's not against educating his own daughter. His own daughter, more or less, will be educated in whatever form of education. But when others come to ask, should I educate my daughter? Then they say no. Education is different from interpretation of tarbiyah. If you find parents that have given tarbiyah to their children, and this is where
guidance,
moral guidance
and upbringing.
If they put them to go to education, they can ask them to go and go to school in Miami, and they will come back intact. If people have failed or have not taken the moral bringing of their children seriously, that is when we become afraid. And then the second thing is that we must put the two separately. Our ability to be morally upright, to hold our values, is totally different from Western education. Because you find that a girl that has never seen the walls of going to school can be Karwa, can be a commercial sex worker. She can be all the bad thing if she wants to be. And then a girl that has gone through Western education can be a very practicing Muslim. She can be a very practicing Christian. She can uphold values if she chooses to be. So the whole issue is about choice. It's about how somebody chooses to manifest their lives. And education, if you may, gives one the ability to make choices. If Western education or education as a whole do not make males morally bankrupt, what makes it different that it will make a female morally bankrupt? After all, moral bankruptcy in the sight of our Creator is the same, regardless of whether you're a male or a female.
But what specific measures do you think will help to change the trend? Because here we are, when even of recent, there is so much pushback against girls' education. There is this controversial, or the program of AGILE, which is some World Bank plus federal government and state government program that is causing so much controversy. Again, some learned Islamic people have come out to say it's a way to maybe corrupt the values of our girls.
Thank you for asking me this question, and it's such an opportunity, and if you will allow me to explain step by step the whole issue of the Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment. This is a project that we, including me, Mairo Mandara, initiated and started. In 2019, we had a conference on girls' education in Abuja here. That conference was called by the Sultan of Sokoto, the Kabaka of Buganda, and the Ashanti of Hene of Ghana.
That is big traditional rulers from across Africa.
And it was attended by traditional and religious leaders from 25 African countries. The Sultan was there. Onayikon, Reverend Onayikon, Cardinal Onayikon was represented. The Khan was represented. All the Muslim groups, Sheikh Dahiru Bauchi was represented. Sheikh Aribullah was represented. All the three groups of Izala were represented. All the various Khan was represented. Form 1 was represented. Major traditional leaders in Nigeria was presented, and it was attended by President Buhari.
But what was their conclusion?
The conclusion of that conference was, in fact, it was discussing around maternal child health. The conclusion of that conference was that girls' education is crucial to not only the development of Africa, but also the proper development and guidance and upbringing of children in the 21st century. And so therefore they requested that girls should be thoroughly educated. But two things were brought up by these traditional leaders as the reason why girls were not educated in Africa. And it was an Africa-wide thing. They said poverty was real. Poverty is one of the main reasons why parents are not able to take their children to school, especially when they have competing demand, either to eat or to take a child to school. So they said the issue of poverty must be addressed. The second issue they address is the issue of moral value. They said people are still skeptical about moral value because sometimes they think that when girls are educated, they become morally corrupt. So they said if these two issues can be addressed, then girls' education, they will champion girls' education. And so many of them have been championing the issue of girls' education. I can tell you that one of the greatest champions we have is the Emir of Arugungu. You have Anka. You have Bakura. You have Maybadi. You have so
a lot of the big traditional rulers in northern Nigeria.
In northern Nigeria.
Why are the ulamas coming out, or at least one of them is coming out strongly that, look, this could corrupt the moral of our girls. It will make them not to want to wear hijab. It will make them to rebel against parents and what have you.
Coming back to his argument, so those two things that they said should be incorporated into education. Then the federal government of Nigeria, because the president was there, had the need. And this project by Ministry of Education and Ministry of Finance was crafted to address education, to address poverty, to address moral values. These three things. So in the Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment, it included these three things. In fact, these three things consist only about 30%. Most of it, one of the key things is that there are not even enough schools. Because if all the children in primary school in Nigeria finish, only about 40% of them can be accommodated in our existing schools. So the chunk of the money, about 70% of the money, which is a loan, it's not a World Bank project, it's a government of Nigeria project because it borrowed money.
To be able to educate these girls who are otherwise
not educated.
Yes.
And so the building of schools, which constitutes 70% of the money, is for boys and girls. Because all boys and girls don't have enough. So it's for expanding education for boys and girls. And then for the girls, because of poverty, what they said, in the program is that when girls are resuming to school, when parents are not able to go to pay for what they call registration in school, to pay for exercise books, to pay for PTA, they give them a token of 15,000 naira or so to go and register at the beginning of a session to take away that burden from the parents. That's all there is. And then in the school curriculum, in the school itself, after school hours, we have what we call safe spaces that we created, that we teach those children. I am part of the people who created the Safe Spaces program.
Very interesting point to go on break, so when we resume, we can take it in greater details. Welcome back. It is still 30 minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television, and our guest today is Dr. Mairo Mandara, with whom, incidentally, we are just talking about the girls' education and this concept of safe space. What does it mean? You say you are involved in it.
So what the safe space means is that it is a safe space.
Is it safe for like girls to
absolutely
banter and talk about issues that concern
absolutely girls? So safe space is a space that is created where girls can talk about the problems that they have. These problems could be menstruation. This problem could be that my breasts have started growing up. This space can be about boys are disturbing me. How do I handle it? I'm not able to, I don't know how to pass my exam. I'm having issues, anything that girls have. And in this space, they have senior people, an older person, a guidance and counseling teacher in the school. The official guidance and counseling teacher of the school, we train her how to have child-centered discussion. So that instead of the child says, I saw some blood in my pants, you say, no, it's normal. They say, no. You take time to explain to her, this is called menstruation. Every girl accepts this. This is how to handle it. Or she says, these boys are disturbing me when I'm passing. Some boys are touching me. You now tell her, okay, this is it. This is how to handle boys. Don't cry. Don't run away. Come and report. This is how to do. Some will say, but my parents are doing this. They say, no. It is your responsibility to respect your parents. They are your parents. This is what it is. This is what this whole safe space is. And some of them say, okay, like some of the girls now, they'll be painting their face at 10, 12. It's like, okay, you're a child. At this stage, the most important responsibility you have is to study, is to grow up. When you reach a stage where you will use lipstick, you can use it. But for now, it's passing exam, it's tarbiyah. This is the responsibility of adolescent girls. It is your responsibility to help your mother clean, to help your parents cook, to help little children in your ability. This is what these children learn.
So why is there the controversy? Is it because you haven't communicated enough to all the so-called stakeholders, that is, all the groups that are involved in making sure this succeeds? Is that the reason why, or is there some other reason you think?
I still can't understand the reason, honestly, because when we first were doing this thing because the traditional and religious leaders of Africa asked us to do it. We didn't concoct it. They say do it and make sure that girls get tarbiyah, get moral values before they finish. They asked us to do it. When we did it, we called, for example, I was involved in the nitty-gritty in Borno. When we did it, we called Form 1. And
That's
Form 1, Federation of Muslim Women Association. We called Adama, and she called all the 41 affiliates of Form 1. They went through all the documents. We called Sheikh Abubakar and the representative of the chief imam of Borno. They looked at everything and looked at it. We called the representative of the Sheikh of Borno. They looked at it. And we called the representative of parents. We called the chairman of CAN. We called the chairman of Christian Association and Women Christian Association. And this is what happened in every part of the country. And this was discussed. What I think happened is this sheikh, this malam that started it, he just happens to be in Borno for a program, and he was asked to speak, and he spoke about it. In my honest opinion, he has not taken time to read it. And after that, there has been interaction with him. And I think he now understood the whole thing. Two things. when we do these things, we always make sure we have ulamas that look at these things and verify what we're saying. And then secondly, I think there's also misplacement of priority. One of the things that he said is that why is it in northern Nigeria?
Yes, there is that aspect, but
I am sorry.
Probably it's because of the indices that we all know about.
I am sorry,
Nigeria.
I'm from the north of Nigeria,
yes.
But I will be honest to shamefully accept that we have the highest maternal mortality. If you take us almost the whole world, we are one of the worst in maternal mortality, poor maternal health, child health. Things that no longer exist in other parts of the world, we have them in the north of Nigeria. And the indication, now putting my cap as a doctor, most of these health indicators that are very poor with our women is as a result of non-education of the women. So when these things come, we had to lobby, we had to struggle, we had to show evidence, we had to struggle to say, let's for once, let Nigeria for once look at where the problem is and solve the problem.
But don't you think you also ought to educate the men? Because the men as guardian or so of the women need to understand so that they are reassured. Otherwise, somebody can throw a cat among the pigeons, as in this case, and say that, look, this AGILE, this particular program is counterproductive. It goes against the grain of your religion. It will make the women rebel. It will make the girls throw away their hijabs and all of that.
We have brought up as many men as we can. If you can, and I will challenge Trust TV to do this, to actually follow up with so many Muslim leaders. So many of them know what is happening. It's just one.
But already it's having the contagion. I've seen an emir also like endorsing and
the emir of Katsina came out to say, the Katsina Emirate came out to say it was a lie. They didn't say it. In fact, recently in the Sultan Foundation meeting, where all the emirs gathered, the emir of Argungun stood up and explained what it is, and stood by it and said it is their program. But because that was a positive thing, I haven't seen it reported.
What about the issue? Because there is the historical thing about this. There's already a new campaign against the HPV vaccine, the one that prevents women from getting cancer of the cervix. Much earlier, there was the campaign against polio vaccination. So it's like familiar territory in northern Nigeria that all these things keep bubbling out. Why?
I think I appreciate the fact that we have reasons to actually be very, very vigilant from anything that comes, especially from the West. We have reasons, we have historical reasons that we have to be very vigilant, and we must continue to be vigilant. But girls' education is something that's coming from within us. This is what the Sheikh Usman Danfodio fought all his life. This is what we have been asked, as far as my understanding of Islam is concerned, we've been asked, male and female, to learn. This is the core of our being. So this is not thing Western. Education is my value, is something, if I don't have it, is something that I should be ashamed of, is something that I should run to, is something that I should run quickly and get. Because when my prophet came, the first thing he said, the first thing he was given is Iqra. If I am not able to read, then I'm in trouble. And knowledge in Islam is global. Knowledge is the lost property of any mu'min, and wherever we find it, we take it. That means knowledge in English, in French, in Chinese, in Japanese, in Arabic, in anything, knowledge. And that's why I say that we need to be very, very careful. And secondly, I also want to call on our ulama, who are our fathers, who are guiding us, to please and please and please prioritize what our issues are. If you look at me as a mother, as a member of this society, if you look at the north of Nigeria, if you look at women in Nigeria, our main problem is not whether girls go to education or not. Our main problem is our children, our parents have I don't know, our values are disintegrating. Our children, boys and girls, are taking drugs. We are so corrupt that if you count 10 people, you can hardly find 2 male and female who are not corrupt. We as people are big thieves with our pen. We're involved in corruption. We are not talking about corruption. We're not talking about development. We're not talking about drug addiction. We're not talking about the fact that we have lost our parental responsibility as male and as female. This should be our priority, not whether girls go to school or not. If anything, all we need to do is to ensure that education is intertwined with our values.
Let's round up on the issue of maternal mortality. Why is it that in Nigeria still it is a big risk, especially northern Nigeria, for a woman to be pregnant, to be able to deliver without any complication, and then to be able to raise the baby to some level of infancy and what have you? And we still have the vaccine hesitancy. We don't trust taking vaccinations that have been proven to be safe everywhere. Why are this problem there? We have just less than a minute or thereabout.
If you look at it, there are many issues. Lack of adequate facilities, which is global, the whole of the country. So it's not just northern Nigeria, everywhere. You find poverty is the whole of northern Nigeria. But the one thing that is unique about northern Nigeria is lack of girls' education. Our women and our girls are not educated to be able to take informed decision. Informed decision around, there's campaign about vaccines. Should I take my child or not take my child? We don't even have the ability to make decision because we are not educated. So if there's any one silver bullet that will tackle the issue of maternal mortality, child mortality, malnutrition and everything, is ensuring every single girl in the north of Nigeria at least complete secondary school. At least complete secondary school. This has been found to be more effective. As a confounder of maternal mortality, it's a stronger confounder than actually wealth. If you have wealth, rich education is a stronger variable in improving maternal and child health.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mairo Mandara, for coming onto the program.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Munir. It's a privilege.
Viewers, that's the end of this edition of 30 Minutes. Keep a date with us.